Hey, so the last video I did was on why I love or why I support Andrew Yang, and the first reason in that list of things was the Freedom Dividend, or a universal basic income, which I'm going to continue to call the Freedom Dividend because I think a UBI, as my girlfriend pointed out, sounds kind of like an STD or something you would get infected with. So with that in mind, I'm going to stick with calling it the Freedom Dividend. Now, before I even jump into the meat of this video, the reason why I like doing these vlogs is the production time, right, is a lot shorter, so I can get them out to you much quicker, and then I can respond to you much quicker. I love hearing what all of you have to say in the comments, and I love responding, and I think it's even better if I can incorporate what you say in the comments into the next video. And when the timeline on creating videos is so long, that gets more challenging. So please, the moral of all that is, please let me know what you think of the Freedom Dividend in the comments below. Even if you hate it, let me know what you think. Let me know why you hate it, and then I'll address that in the next video. Or if you love it, let me know why you love it. So that's my whole spiel. Now let's get into the meat of this video. The first reason that I support the Freedom Dividend is what I said in the last video. All the studies we have show that around 50% of jobs in the United States will be automated over the next 1, 2, 3 decades. However long it is, 50% of the jobs will be automated. And I don't know if people understand what a giant disaster that would be if we didn't have anything in place for all those people who will be displaced, who will no longer have a job. In past waves of automation, which were nothing like what this one would be, there were riots, there was violence, there was millions of people who couldn't provide for themselves or their family, and this is going to be far worse than that. So we're already seeing parts of automation affect the economy. That's why there's a lot of towns in the United States that have people who just are barely getting by the skin of their teeth. And this is already happening, and the more and more it happens, the more it's not going to be isolated to these towns. It's going to be a nationwide disaster unless we do something about it. And right now, the best solution that I see is the Freedom Dividend. So that's the number one reason, is just because I think the Freedom Dividend is absolutely necessary. Okay, so beyond that, that's kind of like the negative side of things. It's like there's this huge disaster looming, we need the Freedom Dividend, or people are gonna die. That's the totally negative side of things. But there's so many positives to the Freedom Dividend. And one thing is, I would be lying if I said I didn't have at least a little bit of libertarian blood in me. I do, for sure. And I think sometimes people on the left can get a bit too carried away in trying to help people. And they do it with the best of intent. I think they genuinely want to help people, but sometimes they want to put too much of their own control in helping people. They want to create a program that's specifically designed, like, let's say, to train people to get a new job, and they want to have government bureaucrats and people in Washington, D.C. who are in that program, who train people who wouldn't be able to do it on their own. But they just want to institute too much control for my taste. It's almost like, it almost comes off to me like they think they know better sometimes. That you in middle America, you don't know how to handle this, so we're going to create a government program that teaches you how to do it. And I just don't know how I feel about it. So what I love about the Freedom Dividend is that it trusts people. And the thing is, all the research we have shows that the government is actually terrible at doing things like training people how to get a job, that they do it right maybe 10 to 15% of the time. Terrible at it. So, even if you do the Freedom Dividend right, and you trust people to know what's best for themselves, which doesn't seem that far-fetched to me, but you trust people to know what's best for themselves, even if only 50% of them actually help themselves with that money, that's still a whole lot more people than if you created a government program to try and train them into a new job. So I guess I just love how empowering that is, that we're not trying to create a program, we're not trying to create a bureaucracy of 5 people in Washington who are going to figure out what's best for the country. No, we're just going to give people the money and trust that they know what's best for themselves. And I know I probably sound like a broken record at this point, but that shouldn't be a novel idea. People probably do know what's best for themselves. They are the ones in their life every single day. They're not, maybe sometimes other people are more research, or they're more objective because they're an outside observer. But I think that people I think they would learn more too if they make their own mistakes rather than having someone in a distant place tell them what's best for them. So that's why, that's another reason why I love the Freedom Dividend, is that it trusts people to make their own decisions. And now when I was watching Andrew Yang's town hall, I don't know, a week or two ago, at first I thought he sounded almost like a one-trick pony. Like, it was like every question they threw at him, it was like, well, what do you do about this, Andrew? Freedom Dividend. What do you do about that, Andrew? Freedom Dividend. What about this? Freedom Dividend. And that was kind of how I thought the first 10 minutes went. And at first, I was like, he has so many policies. You can go to his website and check out all the policies he has. He has so many policies that I support. Like, why are we just focusing on the Freedom Dividend? But then I thought about it. And I thought about how much of an impact the Freedom Dividend would have on so many different aspects of society and of your daily life, right? It's not just for people who will be affected by automation. It's universal. It's for everyone. And let's think of an example, right? I don't know how many of you know David Goggins. He wrote the book Can't Hurt Me, which I can't recommend enough. It's incredible, and it'll make you realize how much we leave on the table on a daily basis, how much more we could be giving back either to ourselves or to society. There's just so much more that we are capable of. And David Goggins, if you read his book Can't Hurt Me, I think you will get that from that book. He's a Navy SEAL. He's an ultra endurance athlete. He runs 100-mile races. He does triathlons. He's a total badass. But the reason I bring him up is because in his book, first 2 chapters deals with his early childhood, and it's kind of brutal to listen to. He had a really abusive father, and like his mom, right? Think about it from his mom's perspective. His mom has 2 kids. David Goggins is one. I can't remember his brother's name, but she has 2 kids. She's in this abusive relationship, and she has 0 economic power, right? She has no money. Her husband makes all the money, and she works for his business, so she gets literally nothing except for whatever tiny thing that he is willing to give her. So she has nothing, right? And it gets to the point, after years of abuse from David Goggins' father, that she thinks that either she is going to kill him or he is going to kill them. And that's when she finally decides to leave, after years of abuse. And it's great that she finally did leave and that they got away from that, and thank God, because now we have David Goggins writing his books. But that should have happened so much sooner, and the reason is because she had no economic power. She thought that she couldn't do anything, that she depended on him to stay there. So she had to stay in this terribly abusive relationship because she had no economic power. And think how differently that would have been if every month she knew that she had at least $1,000 coming in. That's not enough to totally take care of 2 kids, but it's enough to get the fuck out of that house. Okay, I'm cursing because it's this is a real life that could have been impacted if we had something like universal basic income. And there are people in these kind of situations all over the United States, people who wish they could just leave, but they feel like they can't because they have nothing, because they depend on someone else for all their money. And if you had something like universal basic income, think of how many people that would empower. Not even just people who are in abusive relationships, but even people who just want to make their lives a little bit better. Maybe people who want to move to a new place, or people who want to start a new business. I think right now people are afraid to take risks because they're afraid that they'll lose everything. But if you know for certain that no matter what happens, you get at least $1,000 a month coming into your bank every single month, I think people would be a lot more willing to take risks. All right, so that is why I am for the Freedom Dividend. I think it's absolutely necessary because of the way automation is going to wreck people's lives if we don't have any solution in place before then. I think it's absolutely necessary. I think that it trusts people and it empowers people because it's not some distant bureaucrat in Washington telling people or creating a program designed to help them maximize their life. It's just giving people money and saying, hey, you know what to do with this. Go and live your life. Almost ran into that guy. He almost ran into me. And then the third reason that I just mentioned is that it would give people so much economic power and an ability to take risks and get out of terrible situations because they know that they at least have that $1,000 a month to rely on. So, God, you can really hear the peacocks going crazy tonight. They always do that at sunset. Anyway, that's why I am in full support of the Freedom Dividend. Please do let me know what you think of the Freedom Dividend in the comments below, even if you hate it. I want to hear. The next video, I'll respond to all these comments, good and bad. But if you love it, also tell me why you love it or what you think it would do for your life. I'd love to hear it in the comments below. Until next time, I love you all.